Today's guest is Max Lavelle. He's the bassist of the epic melodic death metal band, The Black Dahlia Murder. He's also the coolest loan officer I know. He's also a real estate investor as well as an entrepreneur.
I bought my first property. It was scary. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know my options. Felt like I was getting screwed. I did kind of get screwed. It was very easy for me to project more accurately being in this business now. It's definitely changed my look on finances. I mean, things are a lot easier than I thought because of what I know.
We talk about the importance of homeownership as a musician, what it's like to balance work and life while on the road, and he shares his favorite thing to bring on tour with him. I'm just going to dive right into it. Max, if you could tell the audience a little bit about yourself, a little bit of background.
Sure. My name is Max Lavelle. I'm a musician for the last, professionally 20 years. I currently play for the Black Dahlia Murder, and I am also a loan officer in New England. I'm a business owner. I am a property owner, property manager, lots of things. I wear a lot of hats around here.
That is a lot of things, and we can kind of dive into it later. But I guess, maybe to start a little bit, how or when did you really get started in music?
I mean, from the very beginning, I started playing music when I was 10 years old. I grew up with some people that everyone played guitar or drums. So that's why I picked up bass. I figured it would be different. Everyone else played guitar. So I started playing bass. I took lessons at a local place in Milford, which is probably 10 minutes away from where I grew up. And every Thursday, I would leave school early to go to lessons. My teacher said I was musically inclined, and I would pick things up very easily. And at the time, I didn't realize that was different. I figured everyone could pick it up the same way, but I just seemed to pick everything up. I could read music really easily. I seemed to just have an ear for everything. And I just started to play with more people, and as I got older, I started playing in cover bands and stuff, and thrash cover bands. And I just started evolving it from there and getting more involved. And, I started playing with older people. I was 15 years old, playing with people in their mid-30s because they couldn't really find bass players that could play. And, I was just able to kind of pick it up faster and just be available and be able to work with people. So it was definitely something I was meant to do, for sure.
Awesome. How long have you been a touring musician? How long have you been touring for?
Touring. So I wasn't allowed to tour until I was as soon as I turned 18, it was all right, you're on your own, go figure it out. If you want to do that, that's your own thing. So from 18 to now, so it's been 20 years.
Awesome.
I've been doing this. I did my first tour when I was 18, and I've been doing it that's not professionally, touring by in a van, not thought out, playing horrible, terrible shows, the worst shows you can think of since I was 18. I remember the first tour I ever did, it was awful, but we did, we pulled up to a place in Virginia. It was an open mic night. The person that booked the tour didn't know what they were doing. So it was an open mic place, and they were like, "Oh, you're a real band, huh?" And they were like, "All right, we'll sign up on the sheet like everyone else." And it was at that point, I was like, "Oh man, this is a wild world." But then, obviously got better. So you have to start somewhere and then get up from there.
Yeah. Well, and on that note, then what has been some of your favorite tours or maybe favorite shows? I'm sure there's a lot. You've been a lot of places, but do you have anything that kind of sticks out to you?
It's funny because I thought about that question, and some of my favorite tours now are not what they were when they started. My favorite tour now that I look back is probably one of the worst tours I ever did. But looking back on it, I'm wow, that was really fun. I'll say it like this. My favorite experience, full on, you're out there. It was in 2003 or 4. I was in a death metal band called Goratory. And we went to Europe for 3 weeks, and we shared a Sprinter van with 2 other bands in it. So we just sat up the whole time with merch boxes stuffed everywhere. And we were in Europe in the gore grind scene. And it's a really different scene than what happens now. And it was a different way of doing things back then. Like there wasn't a lot of people coming over as much. So things were really DIY. You were like thrown right in there. You had to deal with whatever cards you were dealt. So we were sleeping at venues. That was a thing that happened all the time. There would be bunk beds there. I remember one night where we slept on the stage in Poland, like just had like sleeping bags on the stage and, breaking down, like seeing the sights, like seeing everything because you weren't able to sleep really. So you would see everything. And it was really, really wild to be a part of that, looking back at it then and seeing how it is now. It's like now touring over there is kind of like touring the States. You're in a bus. Everything's nice. You can go to McDonald's and get Wi-Fi and use your cell phone. Back then, I didn't have a cell phone then anyway. And going over there, I didn't have any way to keep time. I had to have a wristwatch and I had to change it, like depending on what zone I was in. I'd have a calling card to call my family. I would use internet maybe once every week to try to like make a post to let everyone know that I was alive. It's not like in real time now where you can keep up with everyone. So it was a wild time back then for sure. Much different than now.
Yeah, that's so different, I bet, than how you're doing it now. So there's likely a lot of music nerds that are going to be listening to this. So really quick, if you could share, what your favorite piece of gear is that you like to bring on the road or...
Sure. I don't know how much of the camera that you can see behind me, if it's wide or not, but if you look at the white bass that is in the chair behind me, that is my Zahn custom Octabrade over. This is what I bring with me everywhere. This is my Zahn custom bass. I love these guys. It's a graphite neck, ash and Bavinga body. This thing sounds great. I get compliments on it all the time. People love this bass. Sounds awesome. What's different about this is I have 2 batteries in it. So it's got 18 volts of power in it. It just has a lot of like aggressive tone. And these types of pickups, these are single coil pickups. So these have a much nastier tone than a regular standard like metal bit. Because most people have humbuckers or some sort of like really scooped out sound. Mine has all the mids and all that stuff because I'm really not trying to bury my bass or anything. I'd like to be heard.
Cool. Yeah. Well, and it's white, so it can be seen super well as well. That's awesome. Really good looking.
That is what I would call a tuxedo bass.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So when you were doing a lot of music and everything like that, for the last, long bit of time, when did you realize that you might need a side hustle, or when did you want that? When did you want to start incorporating other things?
Well, I've always done that. I had started my first business when I was 15. I was selling design and advertising services. So at a very young age, I was always trying to not get stuck in a grind. I was trying not to be working for someone forever. I always knew that was kind of like a means to an end. If a fire went out somewhere else, I didn't want to be stuck without any heat. I wanted to have other things going on that I didn't have to become desperate. Or if I was desperate, I knew how to put something together so I wasn't desperate is what I'm saying. Is by doing this from a young age, they gave me some skills to like rely on myself and not rely on someone else. If someone feeds you all the time, you never learn how to feed yourself. So at a young age, I kind of figured that out, took things from there. I tried a bunch of different things. I did ad sales, marketing. I had products. I had companies that never had my face on it that were just mail order and things like that, just ways to generate revenue and try and see what I liked.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got like a taste for it. And it just started evolving from there.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I love the world of entrepreneurship. I am one of those as well. And just having the ability to acquire a bunch of skill sets where you can really either work for yourself or build something and really have a lot of other things going on for multiple income streams, whatever that is, I think is so important for a lot of people to really like understand and continually explore as they grow. Some people kind of get just stuck in one mode. They don't think outside of the box, or maybe they don't apply the current skills that they have into something else. There's skill sets that are in, say, stuff with music. There's tons of things within that industry that you could apply in other places with the way that you operate. So I think that's really cool that you've been doing that from such a young age. I always think of this Henry Ford quote, which is chop your own wood and it will warm you twice. And I always think about that with this type of work. With all of the stuff that you've done previously, how did you find getting yourself into real estate and into the lending world?
In the old times when we would tour in other bands, we would have to find someone to stay with for the night. So we'd have to, shell out money for a hotel or like a Motel 6 or whatever. So we became friends with this girl in Austin. Her name's Morgan. And we would always stay there. She had a really nice house. And she at the time, she had a retail store that she owned. She was always really good with money. She had things figured out at a very young age. And I kind of always kept in touch with her. She was telling me what she was doing with lending. I remember this very clearly because I went and I hadn't seen her for some years. I had been off the road for a while. We went and had lunch, I think at Terry Black's in Austin. And she was telling me about what she was doing. And then I was like, well, that sounds great. You stay at home with your kids and you work from your phone and you can make a great living and you can be present. You can be with your family and you don't have to sit there and be, dead at work, tied to your desk. Anyway, we got talking about it more and I was like, well, can I do that from the road? And she's like, well, absolutely. She kind of coached me through it. I was like, well, what do I have to do? I was like, all right. So I had to go and I had to get pre-qualified for my education. So I had to go take a class for 24 hours or whatever, just to qualify to take the actual test and then do all these things. And then she coached me through everything and told me what I had to do. And that's how I got started. I looked at that person as my mentor and I was like, all right, well, they did it. So I know that I can do it. I know that it can be done for sure. So I went and I took what she said and I took it and I've been doing it ever since. And I still see her every time I'm in town. We talk business, we talk life, whatever, it's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so wonderful that you could have a mentor or somebody kind of open your mind to what's possible in say that world. When I would just remember for myself when the world of real estate, the world of investing, when I learned about it, I was like, oh my God, I wish I would have known about it sooner, but I'm really glad I know about it now.
Yeah.
And that's really great that you have have somebody that's kind of able to show you the ropes in that. That's super, super important. With real estate and with lending, how has that changed your financial outlook on things?
It's changed it a lot as far as understanding it. So things are less complicated. So I bought my first property before getting involved. And it was scary. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know my options. I felt like I was getting screwed. I did kind of get screwed. I just didn't get as good of a deal as I wanted or should have, and there could have been better options to deal with. But it changed my outlook a lot. There's lots of things that are a lot more possible. It doesn't have to be so complicated with money. When you get involved and you know more about finance, you can kind of see the future a bit. If you just calculate things correctly, do a little bit of error correction, look at things on paper, and then go, okay, well, what could happen whenever? It was very easy for me to project more accurately being in this business now. It's definitely changed my look on finances. I mean, things are a lot easier than I thought because of what I know.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's super helpful to understand. We can keep this pretty general and you don't need to share specific numbers at all, but of your total income that you're getting and generating from all of these different things, what is the ratio that you're getting from real estate, and that can include investing, versus the music industry?
It's sometimes it's equal. This year has been, with rates being tough to get now. It hasn't, for lending, it's been hard to qualify people, and the market shifted for that. Less consumer or less residential consumer types, more commercial business, people trying to, refinance investment properties, but in, I think it was 2020 when all the rates dropped, that was I couldn't put the phone down. That was crazy. It was great. It was that was a very, one-sided, year for sure. Sometimes it's pretty half and half, things have been established for some time. So things come in and which is nice to have that, to have something I can run from the road.
Totally.
That matches that, so I can invest in other things or pay things off, or, right now I'm investing a lot of money into my property. Right now I've been doing a lot of work.
Let's kind of go into that part a little bit, just the investing side, because that's so interesting to me. I am a huge advocate for investing in real estate, whatever way that looks like. As far as right now, the property that you're talking about, is this a rental property that you own?
Yeah, it's a rental property that I own. It's a three-family Victorian. So right now I am investing in fixing it. So much stuff to fix in it. So it was, it's over 100 years old. So it was one of those things where it was when the market was crazy during like a bidding war where I had to waive a lot of stuff. I had to waive inspections. So I had to go off of what I was looking at. And I saw a lot of issues and I looked at old reports on the place, and now I'm just getting to fixing some of the structural things. I haven't even really gotten to, I mean, some cosmetic stuff I've done, but structural things like stuff with the roof, stuff with the insulation, stuff with the electrical, plumbing, a lot of the stuff I'm doing myself, and I'm buying supplies and then doing everything myself. Electrical, I'm not going to do myself because I want permits pulled, and I want to make sure that if there's any fires, and there's no permit and I did it, then I have to eat the cost of my house burning down or a death or something like that. And like, if you can avoid something like that, like definitely avoid it. Try to hack it and give it like a landlord special and be, some sort of horrible thing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
a lot of it's been like structural things I've been fixing. I recently put a driveway in, put a privacy fence in. I had a dormer fixed, which is an ongoing project, which was a nightmare to try to find a roofer for that because it's a slate roof. So I had to get a specialty company to do it. So, there's lots of things like that. But it's good. It's always a project. There's always things to work on with an old house. I mean, I wish there wasn't. We're done with it, but there's always something right now.
Sure. When you will be done with it, do you see that you will have increased the value significantly from when you bought it?
Oh, yeah. I've changed things structurally to where it will definitely increase the value and like comfort and things like that. Some of the safety issues are gone, that almost caused me problems but they're now gone. So that's, that's done. Property's already gone up. Neighborhoods, only going to get better, over time.
Sweet.
And then I could also leverage that property later on, like when I move out, because right now I have it. I'm in it while I'm working on it and renting out the other units. And then when I'm out of here, I'll move on to another one and I can pull money out, whatever, and use it for other ones. So I plan on doing another investment property it's probably going to be next year. I got to see, but I'm trying to see how the market's moving and how I'm doing.
That's exciting. And if you can explain, because I understand what you're talking about, but if you can explain a little bit, because I think there's a lot of terminology that goes around something that you're doing. Correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you're doing something called house hacking.
Mm-hmm.
You bought a property, you're living in part of it, you're renting the other parts out. That's helping supplement your monthly payments, and while you're working on the house, and that's an awesome way to do that, right? And then you're going to be moving out of that house. You'll probably fill the space that you live in with another tenant, just keeping the money coming in from that one property. And then correct me if I heard you right, you're going to be pulling money out of that like a HELOC, home equity line of credit style, or?
Yeah, probably a HELOC because my rate's too low for me to refinance. I'll never refi this property. I got the best rate I could have gotten at the time, and I don't think I'll ever see this interest rate again. So until it's paid off. So I will probably, if I need to pull a HELOC out for something, I'll do it out of this because I would never refinance it.
Sure.
If I don't need to, I'm not going to put my house on the line. But if I needed to and I knew that I get the money back, but it also depends on the rates too. Like if I, for like fix and flip interest onlys, they're good. Especially in this market, I could definitely flip something fast if there wasn't any issues. So that's the thing to do it. But yeah, the way that I did this is I picked the unit in this building that needed the most work, and that was like I couldn't rent out right away, and I moved into that one so I could work on it internally instead of waiting to rent it out. And then the other two were fine, minor stuff to fix, and that's what I've been doing. I'm just trying to improve it as I go.
Sweet. No, that's so smart. For people that might not understand exactly what we're talking about with a HELOC, could you explain it just a little bit?
Yeah, a HELOC is a home equity line of credit. Basically, you pull equity out of your house like a credit card, and it is considered a revolving line of credit. So that's how it shows up. It shows up like a card, but you're using your house.
Right.
And they usually have like minimums, like you have to pull at least 25 or 50 out. But it's a good option, like if you have to fix a roof or something and you can't get the insurance money, like if it's not like a disaster, you pull a HELOC out, get 20, 30 grand, fix a roof, do a kitchen over, something like that. And then you just pay it off over, 10, 20 years with a low rate. And you can just have it, or you can just get it and keep it, and you're only debted for what you take out of it. So, it's a smart move. Like when the rates went up and the refi market went down, investors that I worked with started doing those. People that didn't do them before started doing it.
I've got a HELOC on one of my condos in Hawaii right now, and I have used the money from that to put it towards a flip investment. And I had used that towards the money for the rehab. And then once that was flipped, I just paid back most of my HELOC with the money that I had made from that. Not all of it, because you don't want to close it, right?
No, also too with that, when you use money that's borrowed, you can do that, but I think you have to declare that you borrowed money.
Correct. Yep.
To take it out. That. Yeah, like it's on the declaration sheet at the end.
Exactly.
So I've never had anyone do that. I've had people talk about it. Never had one on the file though.
Yeah. It's just another way of just using real estate in general, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is what's so interesting about this thing that I really kind of want more people to understand, like you understand very well, how real estate can be leveraged and utilized in so many different ways other than just you bought a house and now you have a house and you're living in it. Like that is an option and that's a great option, but there's so many other ways to use and do real estate, if you will. And I guess kind of on that, how did real estate create more sustainability for you being a musician?
I was able to relax more. Like when I had this place fully rented, it was nice to be able to just, not have to go out and sell all. I still always have that like mentality of like, I need to be like doing like introductions all the time and, trading contacts and things like that. But the pressure was off a little bit and I could focus on the house. But it changed it somewhat because like when one door closes, another one opens, and like there's so many doors that open in this house with projects to finish that, I didn't really relax that much.
Right.
To focus on music. There's, when you manage a property yourself, there's a lot to deal with there, especially when you're trying to keep your margins a certain way. You have to take on certain hats, but you figure it out. I've definitely gotten rid of having to give away so much time elsewhere.
Well, that's the beauty of it, is kind of, being able to manage your own schedule in a sense. We work with people and sometimes you're on their schedule. And I guess, that kind of leads to my next question is, how have you been able to manage clients while on the road or while also trying to write music and stuff like that? Has that been difficult, or has that been something that you've been able to schedule really well? What does that kind of look like for you?
Over the years, when I had to juggle clients, it's gotten easier. When you first do it, you take every single one and you really overdo it. You're so much going into one thing, and then you realize like what you need to focus on and what matters, what doesn't matter. There's just things that you need to spend time on and things you don't need to spend time on. Don't spin your wheels when you don't need to when you don't have to do it. And like dealing with clients on the road, it's really not that bad. Like as long as you know how to direct the conversation and you set the appointments up yourself and you know how to control your time and don't give your time away like that. So you set an appointment that that's going to work. You don't let them push you around and go into a spot where you're like, grocery shopping and you have to put yourself in the corner and pick up. We've all done that, but like when you can get someone on the phone, you don't have to have your computer open with your calculator out, all that stuff. Just get them on the phone. Intake the client, tell them what they need to do. I have a Word doc that's called a swipe file. It has all pre-typed out stuff for certain things that I need. Like if I'm having a new pre-qual, I just copy and paste it, send it off. I go, all right, well, send me your email. And then I just do like a quick call. I go, well, how long you been working? How many years like this, basically it happens like this. Do you have any questions? I go through everything just to let them know like kind of how it works, and I keep that conversation short. I send the email. If I get them in, I have a quick process. Once I get them in shopping, I can delegate to my team to do certain things. When I can't, I have a processor, I have a real estate partner, I have people that do a lot of stuff for me when I need it, and I have people that do stuff that's their job to do. Like when I get a contract in, my processing team will take it from there. And then if I need to chase stuff, I chase it with them. If I need to call certain people, I'll get it done. But, I make sure with these things to be very direct because, like you learn that your time is very valuable and you can't screw around with certain things. You really have to make sure that you are very direct.
That's great advice. And I'm personally working on that more myself, on just being extremely direct on my question asking, how to get as much information in a succinct amount of time, because it really can be, and I find that people respond so much better when you're just super direct and you're really just trying to get your point across and find out what's going on with this person. And if you can help them and when, it really actually helps everybody. So that's great that you understand that.
Yeah, it's a tough thing because as a lender, a banker person, like we tend to be cold anyway. But you have to be sometimes. Sometimes you have to deliver very high pressure, bad news to people.
Sure.
You have to deliver the news. No matter what it is, you got to deliver it. They got to know, like, this is your job. It's bad news, good news. You need to deliver it. You can't sit down. You can't procrastinate. You can't hesitate. You have to deliver the news.
Definitely. I think having a high level of emotional intelligence is very key, not only for this type of work, but for nearly everything, trying to bring out, and that kind of compromises a lot of, like, say, arts and music, because there's a lot of emotion involved in that, to some degree. But with this type of work, with investing and then just other parts of life, being able to deliver the news, like you're saying, or just be straightforward and deliver a message, whatever that is, and understand that it's not about you, it's about the person that needs to hear it, is really important. So that's awesome that you're able to do that. I wanted to ask, I guess, we just have a couple last questions here. How did you leverage your connections that you might have in the real estate world or with the music industry or vice versa? Have you been able to kind of balance and combine the both of them, or are they kind of living separate worlds?
They're living, it's here and there, but sometimes it's better because if they think like this, this guy's handling, my money, but he's like in this metal band, he must be on drugs and he must be crazy. But there's different things. People don't really get it. Like I go through a very high level of testing to even have a license for what I do. Because I have a license. It's not like I work for a bank who's registered. So it's because I am the bank. So I have to go through a certain amount of testing every year in able to keep my license. So I've been able to, kind of combine it with I've had people that knew who I was that I've done loans for. And they've been like, oh, wow, crazy. I didn't, it's really random. Like, it's like people kind of don't put it together. You're like, oh, that's weird. It's so weird. It doesn't make sense. Because they have this other vision of what I should be instead of, what it is, so it's a little, I'm trying to combine them more, but it's difficult, it's, for me, right now to sit here and be like, oh, am I going to work with fans or whatever? Because you don't want, who knows, but right. It's trying to figure out where it is. And that's the thing with this sort of business is you want to position yourself authentically and not become like a WWE wrestler either. You know what I mean? You want to be like I don't know. There's, I don't want to be a phony because there's lots of those out there. So I'm trying to mix the two worlds somehow.
I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think what you're trying to do a lot of, along with a lot of other people that are kind of in our Heavy Realty network that are maybe, musicians trying to just live that life while also being themselves, that are interested in real estate and understanding finances and how to make and leverage money through real estate. You can be all of those things. And, I think it's really wonderful what you're doing, kind of putting yourself out there more and more on who you are. This is who you are. This is the jobs you have. These are the interests you have. These are the things that you're knowledgeable about, and I think that will speak volumes for itself. And I guess, you are somebody that's in a great position being a loan officer and a musician, where you can probably give a lot of good tips and advice to people that are musicians or creatives who never really think about, becoming a homeowner, and they don't think that it's possible for them, and I hope that we end up doing more videos together on these types of things, because I think it's really important for this group of people that maybe are your fans, that also they live in a house, and they're going to grow up, and, we're all getting older, and home ownership in some form is very important. And I guess, what would you say to, some people starting out and maybe starting to be curious about, what does it look like? Would you say like the first things are building credit or saving money or learning to budget? What would be some easy advice that you could give?
Yeah, some easy things. I mean, it's easier than you think, to buy a house. But I mean, entry point is credit, So I mean, realistically, you want at least a 620 or higher. Like if you have a 580, you want to work on building your credit up anyway, because those loans are going to be high interest. You're going to have a crazy long, weird terms. But I mean, you should really be comfortable with understanding your own financial profile. Like I remember when I had bad credit and I didn't know how to manage my money, I would cringe at looking at my bank account, or like I would put off, looking, paying bills like the absolute last thing I should do. I mean, like at the very last moment. So be comfortable with your financial profile. Look at your credit report and see, and if it's low, see why it's low. Do you have delinquencies? Do you have marks, or do you not have credit history? Like that's 35%. No credit history. I mean, that will drag you down, even though you have no bad stuff on there, and, don't let your parents, put you in debt with credit cards. Seen that a lot, I mean, be careful with student loans. Do not default on your student loans. If you default on a federal loan for like school, you'll get something, which is called a CAVERS report, which will bar you from any FHA financing until that is cleared up and been dismissed.
Jeez.
You're better off with a bankruptcy. At least a bankruptcy, if you're like outside of 3 years, you can do something with it, So, I mean, this is being comfortable with your financial profile, like learning about it, is one. Steady employment. If you have people that can go on the application with you, that's good too. But also, when you're shopping loans and when you're talking to somebody, do not talk to your bank. Don't go to Bank of America or whatever bank, credit union, whatever, because they're going to have one conventional loan, one FHA, one VA, one portfolio product. You want to talk to a mortgage company that all they do is mortgage loans, because they're going to have a conventional loan from 15 other banks that are all competing for your business. Like, for instance, what I do, I am what you call a correspondent lender. So I'm a lender that has the same amount of options as a broker, but brokers cost more money and they take longer because they're in the intermediary between the investors. So with me as a correspondent lender, I have all the same contacts and I can sign on whoever I want as long as it works for me. But I fund it, I wire it at the end of the table. So the money's coming from my line, so it happens faster. And it's all my team. The only thing that gets sent out is underwriting to the investor, whoever that is. So, I mean, you want to talk with someone that's all they do, because a bank is going to want, they're going to be like, all right, well, here's your thing, but, you're going to have to sign up for this checking account or whatever, because that's all they really care about. With a mortgage company, they're going to work for you the whole time, and they don't get paid. I mean, we don't get paid unless it closes. So it's in our best interest to make sure that we do the best job we can. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You get someone who goes in 40 hours a week, hates their life. They can't wait to take a lunch, and they can't wait to leave early on Friday. I work Monday through Sunday. I'm answering phone calls 9 p.m., 10 p.m. I have to be available when my clients get out of work. You can't go to a bank when you work a full-time job. What are you going to go 8 to 5? That's when they close. How are you going to talk to anyone? Are you going to take the day off of work or, something like that? So it's better to deal with someone like me who's independent. I mean, I have an office, but I'm out talking with people all hours every day,
Yeah, you're the professional. Someone else is almost doing it as a job, but this is really like your wheelhouse. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've seen it with my employees, I mean, a lot of them who had this attitude don't work there anymore. But the thing is, like, they'll be like, oh, well, you're giving this to me on a Friday. It's like, yeah, well,
yeah,
we're trying to help people here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we do. I mean, like, just because you want to go leave work early doesn't mean that my clients get less service. You're going to check every week. I don't. I need to make sure that I deliver, because I get paid on that. I get paid on delivery. I don't get paid for showing up. I get paid on the results that I produce for my clients, and that's the thing. It's like,
Yeah.
And that's who you want working for you.
Definitely. Someone like you, someone that has that mindset, the mindset that it's way more than just a job. It's a way that you also, just like me, if I don't work, I don't make money. If I just sit on my ass, if I leave early Friday, and don't work all weekend, I will be fucking myself over for sure.
Yeah, Monday. That's the day you want. You want to fill your Monday up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're making calls and then doing all that. Yeah.
Exactly. It is a hustle, but it is also enjoyable because, I always think about entrepreneurship. It's the high risk, high reward, right?
Mhm.
We get a really high reward from not only helping people, but honestly, one of the biggest rewards for me has been learning so much about real estate and what it can do for me, for my friends, for the people I care about. It's really, really something that has, in a sense, kind of saved my life because it's given me a lot of like understanding of how I can get from A to Z, not being like a college graduate and going the traditional life path. Real estate has been the answer for me, and it's been a wonderful thing. So I think it's really great that you're out there helping people also, and kind of, helping people understand that it's not as hard as they think it is,
Yeah.
and that it's not as far and unreachable.
Yeah, there's all types of ways to calculate the way that you get your money too. So it's not always traditional and stuff too. That's why you need to talk to somebody.
Yeah. Talk to someone like Max.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
One last question, and it's kind of just a fun question. But if you could have a dream house filled with your favorite musicians, dead or alive, for a party, what style of house would this be? What would it look like, and who would be there?
Oh, style. Okay, so it's definitely gonna be like an over the top like '80s movie mansion. Trevor would be there. He'd be there jumping off the house and into the pool. All the guys from my band, for sure. And I'm trying to think of who else would be there.
That's good enough. I mean, that's enough to have a really good time.
I don't know. I've spent so much time with them on the road. That's like all I can picture is me having a good time with my friends in this mansion, just going crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I don't know if everybody can say that. Some people with bands, and there's a lot. It's a whole thing with them. So that's really great that you have that relationship with them. And of course, we miss Trevor and everything about that. But that would be an insane party, and that house sounds like a really good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.